Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking on an extraordinary figure, someone whose influence and personal charisma, or persona, as our sources kept calling it, is still incredibly vibrant.
It really is, and this is a legacy that continues to inspire even modern figures like the current PBNU chairman, Gus Yahya Cholas Stockwov.
We are talking, of course, about K.H. Abdurrahman Wahid, who everyone just knows as Guster.
That enduring persona is exactly what we're digging into. For you today, our mission is to synthesize what made him such a vital figure, not just at home, but internationally.
Right. We're moving beyond the standard political biography.
Yeah, we're looking at this unique mix of three core pillars that the source materials really explore. His profound unconditional humanism,
Okay.
his undeniable intellectualism, and of course that unforgettable multi-layered humor.
And we're going to be pulling from various testimonials and scholarly perspectives to do this. A bit of a shortcut, really, to understanding the man behind the myth. So let's unpack this. Where do we start?
Let's start with his humanism, because the big question is, where did this almost radical, unconditional view of humanity even come from?
That's the key, isn't it?
It is. And what's fascinating here is that Guster didn't see humanism as some sort of, external add-on to his faith. He saw it as coming directly from the principle of katahidon.
The fundamental monotheism at the heart of his belief.
Exactly. So if I understand the dynamic correctly, it wasn't about trying to balance faith with humanity.
Yeah, they were inherently linked, systemically.
Precisely. The core premise, according to the analysis we have, is that man is seen as the most noble creature, the one entrusted by God to manage and, prosper the earth.
And crucially, the sources emphasize that human nature is viewed as a reflection of divine attributes.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that? Because that link feels critical. If humanity reflects the divine, what's the consequence of misleading someone?
The consequences. It's seismic. And that's the insight that really mandated his life's work. For Gus Deer, honoring and respecting another human being, regardless of who they are, means honoring the creator.
And so the reverse is also true?
The reverse is also true. Degrading humanity means degrading God. This belief is what required him to defend humanity without conditions. This wasn't just, nice to have tolerance. It was a non-negotiable spiritual duty.
That completely changes the whole equation. And it makes that famous story about his final wishes just incredibly powerful. He told his friend, Johann Effendi, that he wanted his tombstone to simply read, "Here lies a humanist."
Wow.
That single instruction, it says that above all the other titles, president, cleric, whatever, that was the one he prioritized.
And that priority led to some very serious ethical lines he drew in the sand, didn't it? He was constantly wrestling with how to stop faith from becoming a weapon.
You see it so clearly in that powerful caution he gave at Pesantren Sigancher. He said, religion must be placed alongside humanity.
If not, it becomes a fundamentalist weapon that destroys humanity.
That's a staggering quote. It just draws such a clear line. Ethics has to come before application.
It suggests that any religious practice that undermines human dignity it's fundamentally failed its primary spiritual job.
So let's shift from philosophy to action. What were the practical outcomes of this? How did this worldview actually manifest in his work?
Well, the sources detail two core manifestations, and they're anchored in the Quranic principle from Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 32, which contains the phrase, "Waman ahaha fakanama ahanasa jamia."
The beautiful idea that whoever saves one life, it's as if he has saved all of humanity.
Exactly. The protection of life as the highest good demanding action.
So what was the first manifestation?
The first, and maybe the most visible, was his relentless protection of human rights hawk Asasi Manuzia. He was constantly protecting minority groups who, frankly, had no one else fighting for them.
And the second?
The second was the development of a just social structure. His philosophy didn't just stop at personal charity. It demanded structural justice.
So a system that provided equity and fairness for everyone in society. The progression is so clear.
It is. From a spiritual root to an ethical mandate to save lives, and finally demanding structural change.
That really clarifies the thinking. And defending all of this required immense intellectual power.
Which brings us directly to the second pillar of his persona, his formidable intellectual depth.
People often talk about his wit, his politics, but the scholarly gravity is sometimes overlooked.
It is, but the clearest evidence is just the sheer number and the geographical breadth of the honorary doctoral degrees he received, the Doctor Honoris Causa.
And this wasn't just praise from home, was it?
No, not at all. This
Wow.
was international scholarly recognition from major institutions, all focused on things like democracy, development, interfaith dialogue.
The list is just astonishing. I mean, instead of reading them all, let's just highlight the range. You have universities like Sorbonne in France, Jawaharlal Nehru in India, Soka Gakkai in Japan,
Konkuk in South Korea.
and the fact that he was honored by an institution like Netanya University in Israel, that speaks volumes about his commitment to dialogue, even across deep conflict lines.
Absolutely. Think about that span. East Asia, Southeast Asia, Europe, the Middle East. It shows his intellectual work wasn't just on interfaith dialogue, he was actively sought out for it. His thinking was genuinely seen as world-class.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the third pillar, and maybe the one that really cemented him in the public's imagination, his unique sense of humor.
Right.
He was a master of political and spiritual wit. And this leads us right to his most famous catchphrase,
Yeah.
Jitu aja kok ripat.
Why the fuss, or why make it so complicated?
Exactly. And that phrase has become iconic, I think, because just like Gus Dur himself, it has such deep, layered meaning.
It really does. It can be a casual dismissal, but it can also be incredibly profound advice. The sources give us 4 distinct interpretations that show the depth hidden right under that light surface.
Okay, so let's dissect those 4 layers for everyone listening.
Right.
We can start with the most immediate one, the political context.
Okay, so the first interpretation comes from a very practical source. Cristiardo, a former deputy ambassador, he saw the phrase as a political efficiency tool.
An efficiency tool?
Yeah. Gus Dur would use it when he saw people, usually politicians or bureaucrats, complicating national life with non-essential issues, things that just distracted from real nation building and, worse, caused needless conflict.
So it's basically a way to cut through the noise, cut the bureaucracy, and get everyone to focus on what actually mattered.
It was a call for political common sense. But then you contrast that with the second interpretation, which is completely spiritual.
Right. This one comes from Munib Huda Muhammad, who is Gus Dur's aide.
His aide and his santri, his student. And he said the phrase represents a form of high-level surrender or kapasrahan tingkat tinggi to God.
That just completely transforms the weight of the phrase, doesn't it?
It totally does. In this spiritual context, the meaning becomes something like, is it really us who manages everything in the end? No, God manages it.
And that release of control must have been liberating.
Incredibly. It allowed him to operate with this amazing lightness, even when he was facing these massive, massive problems. He wasn't carrying the whole weight of the world on his shoulders.
Because he'd surrendered that final burden. Okay, so we've got political expediency and we've got profound spiritualism. What's next?
Next is the philosophical interpretation. And the journalist Najwa Shihab's testimony on this is it's really poignant.
What was her take?
She saw his humor, his wit, as a path to liberation. Liberation from the seduction of power. She gave this amazing line that you really have to absorb to get his style of governing. Tuhirap hanya menunda kekalahan, santai sajalah dengan kekuasaan.
Life is only postponing defeat, so just relax with power. Wow. That's a fantastic way to frame it.
It is. I mean, if you truly believe that all political victories are temporary, that power is fleeting, you can stop fighting about the trivial stuff.
And the humor then becomes a kind of protective shield.
Exactly. A shield against the ego that power demands. It keeps you human.
It makes perfect sense. Okay, so that brings us to the final, most intimate layer, the practical or fiqh interpretation. This one comes from his daughter, Yeni Wahid.
Yes, and she rooted the phrase in classical Islamic jurisprudence, specifically the Arabic fiqh term yasir wala twasir.
Which means?
It means, very simply, make it easy, do not make it difficult. And this reflects Gus Dur's personal hands-on principle in his daily life.
So it was a commitment to being radically accessible, helping people without creating more barriers for them.
Absolutely. The sources note he never complicated matters for people. Anyone who came to him with a problem, it didn't matter what their race, religion, or social standing was, he helped them with the fewest complications possible. It was practical charity, made simple.
To think that one simple phrase, Gitu aja kakripad, can hold all of that at once. Political focus, spiritual surrender, philosophical freedom, and practical charity. It's stunning.
It's a fractal piece of wisdom, really. It proves that the most enduring ideas are the ones that work on multiple levels. It wasn't just a quip, it was a condensed worldview.
So what does this all mean for today? I mean, Gus Dur passed away over a decade ago, but it's clear his vision is not some historical artifact. How is this legacy being maintained now?
We see that reviving Gus Dur is the central vision for Gus Yahya Stock, the current chairman of the PBNU, as the organization, Nablatul Ulama, approaches its second century.
And reviving Gus Dur means what, specifically?
It means reviving the glory and the core thought, the humanism, the intellectual rigor of K.H. Abdurrahman Wahid.
That is a huge mandate for a century-old organization. What are the specific, actionable agenda items for NU moving forward?
The sources outline two crucial ones that flow right from Gus Dur's life's work. First, independence commandarian.
Making sure the organization can stand on its own principles without compromise.
Right. And second, world peace perdamaian dunya.
Well, given his global reach, the doctorates from Israel and France, that focus on world peace feels like the natural continuation of his work.
It is. But the author points out a challenge. The challenge now is making sure that Gus Dur's strategic vision for peace is fully understood and adopted by NU members globally.
It's not enough to just be generally peaceful.
No. They need to understand his methods, his intellectual tools, so they can contribute strategically to global issues, just like he did.
This deep dive has really synthesized the power of Gus Dur's blend, hasn't it? A humanist philosopher rooted in faith, an internationally recognized scholar, and a wit that held profound wisdom.
It shows that true, enduring influence isn't just about holding power. It's about the depth and the ethical grounding of your ideas.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture for you, our listener, what we've talked about today is really why his influence persists. It's a testament to the fact that ideas, when they're ethically grounded and intellectually rigorous, they really do transcend time and politics.
Yeah, they become a resource for the future.
A perfect thought to leave our listener with.
The author concluded our source material with this inspiring message, something for all of us to mull over. Ali elmu tidak pernah mati, mari hidupkan kembali pesona, gustur mulai hari ini.
The learned never die.
So consider what it means in your own life to adopt principles governed by ease and compassion while also demanding intellectual rigor. How light could your own life become if you truly genuinely asked, Gitu aja kok repot,